candidates in the grand finale with students from finalists around the country. Be part of the debate through sponsorship. Call John on 080-3700-3120.
In conclusion, AI isn't all good or bad. It depends on how we use it.
Nigeria Info.
And PFN, the Stone Bishops.
Talking about Mourinho and AS Roma, Paulo Dybala has joined forces with Mourinho.
And then so the aviation workers also want to
Stories and more. 95.1.
This is Hard Facts.
This is Hard Facts.
Hard Facts.
On 95.1 Nigeria Info.
All right, very special welcome to you this lovely, lovely, lovely Tuesday afternoon. It's 3:15 p.m. and it's time for Hard Facts. My name is Somi. That's Somi, short for Somi, and I will be taking you through from now up until 7 p.m. It promises to be an interesting time as well. Yes, 2 more days and Kim comes back to hold sway as usual. But for now, this is who you have, and I hope that you'll be willing to come on this show with me today. Starting with the Roundtable. Yes, we have our top 3 stories which we're going to be looking at, and I'm joined this lovely afternoon by my guest, a senior colleague, Mr. Simon Reaf, a journalist who will be taking us through some of the stories. Good afternoon, sir. Good to have you here.
Yeah, good afternoon, Somi. I'm glad joining you at this very important program.
Yes, sir.
It's a lovely afternoon.
Good to have you here indeed. Yeah. Welcome. All right, let's get straight into the conversation. Starting with, let's look at this story to start with. We have the former National Vice Chairman, Northwest, of the All Progressive Congress, Salihu Muhammad Lukman, who had quite a lot to say about this administration, what we're doing so far in terms of governance and, just making great strides where the people are concerned. He was on a television show yesterday and he was talking about, how possible it is 1 year after for us to be here where we still are. As a matter of fact, he said very specifically that against every expectation that our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will reignite the Lagos success story at the national level, he says instead we're seeing the opposite. As a matter of fact, he says it's creating doubts more and more in the minds of Nigerians about the prospect of resolving the country's challenges, given the incidents, the policy missteps, the reversals, and all of that we've seen. And he says, as a result, the crisis of insecurity has remained. The problems of inflation, unemployment, and poverty are on the increase. And he said, look, if really a lot of people harped on that thing about, this is what he did with Lagos. Some went as far as saying he built Lagos, he did this and that. And he was like, okay, at least we should be seeing signs that we're heading towards that direction. But instead, he said there's a lot of doubt being created in the minds of Nigerians. I'd let you jump in on that one. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this conversation? So is it that 1 year is too short a time to start to measure and say things like this? Or can we say that there are some things that he has actually put in place and maybe it's just a matter of we start to see the effects? Or do we go with what Mr. Lukman was saying on this?
Well, I want to state here that Salihu Lukman is a comrade, more of a unionist, that turned into a politician. And looking at this relationship with the present government, because I know he was the national deputy chairman of the APC and a lot of things happened in the last 8 years. I will say I won't agree with him completely on that because Lagos is not Nigeria. And when you are also looking at certain things, you understand the problems inherited by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's not something you just wave aside, because in the last 8 years, we are witnesses to what transpired during the time of President Muhammadu Buhari. Some of us, if he had not become the president of this country after his demise, maybe in a decade or 2 decades to come, I wish him very well. Some of us will have gone to his grave and cried and said, why was it that this man was not made as a president? He was the best president Nigeria never had.
Who are we speaking of again?
We're talking of Muhammad Buhari. We thought
best president Nigeria never had.
If he had not passed, if he had not become the president of this country, do you understand? We will have gone someday to say, this was the best president Nigeria never had.
Oh, I see.
But then he became president, and we saw his performance profile, and we are convinced that he was one of the worst presidents we ever had in the history of the Nigerian nation. Now, in the last 8 years, a lot of things went bad. Insecurity is most. Nigeria became a flourishing killing field. Bloodshed everywhere and violence. It is upon this threat and bloodshed that Bola Ahmed Tinubu inherited, came into power. And to be very, very fair to you, in the last nearly 1 year after he has come in, nobody will tell us that he has not improved on the security condition of this country. He has tried his best. Of course, we know even that best has really not come to a level we will now describe as enough. But Nigeria is not as worse facing a security situation now than it ever faced in the last 8 years of the Buhari administration.
But some would argue with you. There are statistics that have shown that in the first quarter of 2024 alone, if we were to take stock of, or rather, if we were to measure between 2015 and now, what's happened in the first quarter of 2024 alone, if it continues at this pace, will double, if not triple, what we've seen in the last, between 2014 and 2019. So if we were just measuring from the first quarter of 2024 alone, then what you said about insecurity will not necessarily add up.
Well, what I want to tell you that in the first quarter, we knew we had so much insecurity, death, and destruction. But I can tell you, after that first quarter, and the appointment of a new security architecture, the security forces move in. Whether we like it or not, they have worked to a level to control the spike of insecurity in the country. I'm not holding forth for the government. I think they have people that can talk about it, but there is a personal opinion. Now, coming to your question, is there any possibility of Tinubu turning Nigeria into Lagos? No. Nigeria is not Lagos. It's a different scenario. Being a governor is different, and being a president is also very different. This country is faced by multifaceted challenges, and for us to look into those issues, we have to understand what were those things he met on ground when he became the president of this country. So much we met. Of course, we are not saying that the man has done has performed creditably well to kind of attract commendation. But all I can also say here, without any doubt, is the man is trying the little best he could. Of course, we've seen his fight against corruption. We have also seen his effort to make sure that certain things are done the right way. But again, that doesn't mean that there are so other sectors that the man has not done. I continue to ask, why is it that the NNPC, why is it that our refineries that have remained moribund, why is it that despite spending 1.5 billion on Port Harcourt refinery, we are not seeing that refinery coming back to life?
I mean, just to answer your question alone, these are some of the things. I mean, you've talked about his predecessor and what he came to meet, but the president was very much aware of a lot of all the challenges that he was coming to face and have to tackle. And in some instances, he made some promises that even got him, I would say, were part of his campaign and promises that got him into office. Yeah. And here he is in office, and he had made a promise, even concerning that particular refinery, and said he was going to kick off, within a number of months, and it's still not done. I guess that's part of the reason why we're having Mr. Lukman say some of the things that he's saying. But we're going to come back to this conversation again. It's just getting started, I promise you. We'll have a commercial break, and then we'll come back and take more on this. Stay with us. 95.1 Nigeria Info. My name is Somi, and I have Mr. Simon Reaf with me, a journalist who is taking us on the conversations around the roundtable this afternoon, starting off with former National Vice Chairman, Mr. Salihu Lukman, Northwest of the APC, Mr. Salihu Lukman, who was really taking stock of this current administration, what they've done. He made quite a number of other statements, which I will get to. But the one thing he said was that 1 year after, there is no sign that the Lagos feat that was achieved by our president when he was then governor, that there's no sign that we can see such a thing, replicating here at the national level. Mr. Simon has said indeed that Lagos is not Nigeria, but the truth is that a lot of people were singing the praises of our president during the campaign period and saying, look at what he did with Lagos, and that's all you need to see, and that's one of the things that you need to see to know that he can deliver when it comes to our country, Nigeria. And so Mr. Salihu is saying, look, the people who did that, what's going on? We're not seeing these signs. And of course, we're going to open the phone lines a little bit to have your contributions as well on that, which is why I started with asking, is it a little too soon to be seeing it, or should we see steps that will show that indeed, if at all there was a Lagos feat which he's coming into office and being able to deliver for us as Nigerians was hinged on, then we should be able to see that there are gains being made. I think that was the point Mr. Lukman was trying to make there. He says there's nothing to show that we are going to get to this El Dorado anytime soon. Well, he didn't just talk or speak concerning our president. He also talked about leaders in general, and how our political parties have contributed to what we are seeing here in the country. He said, after 25 years of democratic rule, Nigeria was yet to produce leaders that are predisposed to accommodating the interests of citizenry. That's another comment that he made. Right? And he was making this in his statement that was titled, Elusive Politics, What is to be Done? And so, of course, as a former Director General of the Progressive Governors Forum, he expressed displeasure at what he called political mercenaries who fought against Tinubu's election, our president, during the 2023 elections. He said these people who fought against his getting into office are now his strongest allies, and they have free access to him. And I think that just brings us into question. I think the point he was trying to make there is saying, what's going on when it comes to our fight for democracy, and when you have people who are apparently acting as opposition or flag bearers of a particular policy and ideology, and he's saying, look, at the end of the day, you seem to be standing for something, but when it comes down to it, and when this person who you fought so aggressively against gets into office, you're looking at how to ally with the person. And you can see this not just in the case of our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You can also see it when it comes to political party and political party alliances. You can see it even in terms of opposition versus incumbent government and all of that. So he said quite a lot of things. I think one of the other key things he said was failure of the APC and its leadership since the time of former President Muhammadu Buhari to meet the expectations of Nigerians by delivering on campaign promises has debased the country's democracy and made a mockery of all the gains made as a nation. And so I come back to you, Mr. Reaf, because you were talking about what our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came back to meet. I mean, he was in the same party. And at the time, he didn't. I mean, you couldn't necessarily see that there were people within the party who were saying, "Look, President Muhammadu Buhari, you need to do better in terms of insecurity, in terms of economic policy." At the time when Muhammadu Buhari was president, you didn't see people in the party really come out to sort of put the president in check or guide him on the right path, as a function of what their party stands for. It was more of a case, okay, he's there, let me just wait. When his turn finishes, Emiloko, you understand, it is my turn. And then you coming off of, if we were to say there's any party ideology in APC, I don't know, that's another conversation to be had, but coming off of the same party that had Muhammadu Buhari in power, when we went through everything we went through, and you come in and it's like, we're doing trial and error, so to speak. I think that's one of the points Mr. Lukman was trying to make. 1 year after, we should be on course. You talked about the refinery, and you might want to take it as far back as President Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan, but any other president that has come after that should have known that, okay, there are some things that they should prioritize, and within the first 6 months, within the first 8 months, or the first 1 year, we should be seeing that these things are close to being achieved. But like I said, the refinery has been put on hold, it's sort of on ice. We've had things that this particular president has said, look, these are some of the initiatives I want to put in place. Talked about CNG, talked about a number of things during the campaign and all of that, but which one can we say we have a hand on firmly and that can deliver to us maybe within the next 1 month or two? Do we see that? And that's where you now make reference to the supposed magic and miracle of Lagos State. So when you say you don't agree with him, what exactly are you disagreeing with?
Well, when I said I disagree with him, it's not completely.
I agree.
Because one, there are certain issues on ground that even in the next 1 or 2 years we'll not be able to even resolve it. Let me tell you one thing. Democracy in Nigeria is not all about the people.
It's not?
It's not all about the people. We are just a captured nation. The citizens are captured, they are captive. We have a pliant National Assembly. The National Assembly is supposed to speak for the people. Are they speaking for the people? No. They don't give a damn. There are so many things happening in this country. If you had a National Assembly that would play its role actively, we wouldn't have that. I said here one time, what we have just simply enthroned is Baba form of democracy. And in Africa, Baba cannot be wrong. And if Baba cannot be wrong, you cannot question him or call him to give an account for his deeds and action. It didn't start last year. We saw it in 1999. Have we ever seen a place where, a situation where the National Assembly will call the president and ask him to come and explain certain things? No. So when I said democracy is not about the people, the specific democracy we have in Nigeria is weird. It's simply for some certain cabal. They are there, they are enjoying in our behalf. And we have citizens that simply fall down and go and pray. They don't demand accountability. When you talk, they say, no, keep quiet. Your time is coming. You do your own. Of course, we never expected Bola Tinubu to simply sit down and fight Muhammadu Buhari as the leader of the APC. He too waited for his time. And let me tell you, of all the presidents of this country, Bola Tinubu is the only man that took on the presidency as a lifetime ambition. He plotted for it. He did not have to depend on anybody. He used his funds, he used his resources, and make sure he got to where he is today. So, and he stands in a position that has given him that independence. There are certain things he can do without betting an eyelid. Why? Because he fought his way through. Let me also tell you here, even some members of the APC fought against him. But he made it. He made it. So what one is saying here is that when you are talking of democracy, we do not come to accept democracy as the definition as defined by Abraham Lincoln, a government of the people, for the people, by the people. People use money to fight their way into position, and you want for them to stand for you? No.
So here's the thing. Let's go back to the Lagos instance, right? Because that's the key thing that brought us into this conversation today.
Yes.
I mean, we can talk about the leaders and our democracy and all of that. Wouldn't you say that to some extent, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in the position, how he got here regardless, how he fought his way and all of that, is in the position to deliver a sort of Lagos-style feat? Would you say that to some extent there are some things that he can take on? I mean, when you're looking at some of the systems that prevailed at the time in Lagos, that some would say made Lagos what it is today, you have taxes, right? Lagos State is known to be able to utilize taxes in the various forms that it does. It does contribute to IGR. Whether you would argue that the taxes are fair or not is a different conversation. But I mean, there's taxes and there's other things as well that were seen to be the Tinubu system, right? If I can say that. In all of what we have today as a country in Nigeria, wouldn't you say that 1 year after, we should have been able to see a little bit of something that he did in Lagos that he could replicate in the country here that would give us gains? Or again, like I keep saying, is it that the timing is too short to measure?
Well, I will tell you that it's too early to assess Tinubu or either assess whether he can perform what he did in Lagos at the national level. That is the truth of the matter. Because Nigeria, as at now, there are certain groups that are fighting against the sovereignty of this nation. And the security forces are battling to put them in check. It's never worked.
What groups? What groups? Let's be
Of
clear.
course, kidnappers, bandits, Boko Haram, and all those. There's insecurity.
Are these things beyond what our president can handle? When we say that, I'm just mind blown.
Yeah.
I mean, these things can only thrive for as long as they are allowed to thrive. I believe that we have security infrastructure. I believe we have capable hands in our police force and the military and all of that to tackle these things, right? It's a question of, and some would argue that it rests largely on political will. These groups, however notorious that they have become over the years, can only thrive for as long as we are not holding people accountable. We are not making examples of them. So when we say these people are fighting against what the current administration is doing, I believe that is something that they can put a stop to with just one word, one directive, one command.
Yes, I think in answering your question, let me remind you that former President Jonathan, when the police headquarters was bombed, he admitted that members of Boko Haram were in his cabinet. Is very unbelievable that despite all the powers that have been given to the president, to the security forces, they've not been able to tackle the issue of insecurity. Let me tell you, yesterday, a home of a custom officer in Dede was attacked by 10 bandits. They took away his pregnant wife and 3 children with his younger brother. They later release the pregnant wife. So the issue insecurity is very, very crucial in resolving the issues that confront the Nigerian nation. So if you now ask this question, why is it that you've not been able to, I'll ask the question, insecurity has festered for so many years. Why is it that it has not been resolved? I will give you the answer. Certain people are benefiting from what is happening.
Okay.
If you resolve it, you block their ways of making money. So it must be perpetuated. It must be perpetrated in a manner that will continue for them to have access to funding.
I mean, I brought it up because you mentioned, factors that are fighting against the administration. Yes. And again, it just comes down to what is the administration willing to do about it, so that it doesn't become a case of, it's going on for too long. Anyways, we have that as our first story. I think we need to quickly get into the second one. We have 2 more stories to take, and then we open up the phone lines for reactions from our listeners. Breaking news, as it turns out, in the last 1 hour, it said that CBN has raised the interest rate again to 26.25%. Yes, this is as a result of the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN. I think they met today, yes, indeed, and they came out to say that this is the new benchmark interest rate. It was disclosed by the governor of the CBN, who doubles as the chairman of the MPC at the end of their 295th MPC meeting held today in Abuja. Yes, so it's been increased by 200 basis points from 22.75% to at the March MPC meeting, forgive me, it was increased by 200 basis points from 22.75% to 24.75%. And we have this increase again from 24.75% to 26.25%. It says the MPC has maintained a hawkish stance since it resumed meetings this year in a bid to tackle Nigeria's persistent inflation. As of April, Nigeria's inflation rate had risen to 33.69%, and we have a number of analysts projecting a rate hike, while some suggested that the Apex Bank may consider a hold stance as growth rate of inflation moderated month on month. I want to ask Mr. Reaf on this matter. I mean, you can see that the CBN is clearly doing what they can, I believe, to get a hold of what's going on in our country economically speaking. But in terms of interest rate, what are your thoughts on this? The constant increase of interest rate, is this something that we can manage?
Well, the increase in interest rate is very, very alarming in a way that when you increase the interest rate in an economy, what we are simply saying is that you are encouraging people to save. But in a situation where people cannot save, they don't even have the money. How they save? Many Nigerians these days are looking for where what to buy, what to eat. So they don't even have that money. Of course, I know the government is trying everything in its power to have a control over the volume of money in the economy. You see, when the Minister of Finance said in the last 8 years, 22 trillion naira was minted, it tells you there is so much money in the economy. But the question you also have to ask yourself, who are those people that have that money? Is it for the citizens? Or is it just for a very few people? Now, let me tell you something. The increase in petroleum product is driving inflationary trend. How? Because of the cost in transportation. So I expect that the attempt or the action of the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee, in increasing the interest rate will not solve our immediate problem of inflation. It will not solve it because there are other factors that they are yet to tackle. I expect by now, since the Dangote refinery has started work, why is it not that the government can sit down and say, hey, Dangote, can you take so thousands of barrels and produce and soda for local consumption? So there are certain factors that must be taken into cognizance for you to control inflation. Just hiking the interest rate, you are only making doing business very costly, and it will not solve the problem. So there are other factors you look into, not just hiking the interest rate. And if you look at it, the last 3 times they've been hiking it, and today's one is by 150 points. That is from 24 to about 26.25. It's not fair. It will not bring in what we need to get on board. So the issue of inflation is an issue that must be tackled. It must be examined. That is just my view about this.
All right, then. Thank you very much, sir. All right, let's take a few calls, okay? Let's go to the phone lines, get some contributions, and then we'll come back and take the third biggest story for the afternoon. It's 07009510000 if you want to get in touch and contribute to this. You can also call 08095974869. And on WhatsApp, it's 08099930137. Let's get talking. Hello.
Hello, Somi. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Chris.
Your name is what?
My name is Chris. I'm calling from Kubwa.
Welcome, Mr. Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see this inflation and some other policies that was brought about brought about this inflation. Honestly speaking, sometimes we actually, especially our government, they know the solution to this problem, but they chose to overlook it. I'm going to give you a practical example of what businesses are passing through in this country. The typical example is Atiku Abubakar. Ask anybody who knows. Go to a Juliet. This is Juliet here in Abuja. Multi-million-dollar investment in animal feed production for many years. That thing has been standing there, has not been able to take off. That investment alone is capable of, the capacity. Employing more than 1,000 Nigerians. Go to Nigeria, you see what is happening. I've gone there several times, but for where? What do you think is making that thing, unable to take off? You lock the border. Nothing is being produced locally here. The farmers are not able to go to farm. You lock the border. The grains are not coming in. The grains is the life wire for that particular investment here to take off. Now you expect Atiku Abubakar to go to outside country, maybe smuggle the grains with dollars. Even if he does that, and because they are producing the seeds, how much do you think that company here will be able to sell here locally? Let us take this, this government, what the policy, it's like they are the I'm telling Nigerians, even the Atiku Abubakar camp themselves, you can see 2 days ago, Atiku Abubakar has said that if Nigerians think will become 2027, that is he will support him. Because he knows when it comes to local production, he knows who has the capacity. But Nigerians have decided to look elsewhere. And of course, they are in the minority, as I can tell you. Because the majority of Nigerians will also know the problem, and we know that when certain people get into a position of authority, Nigerians will begin to smile. That is what the Bible says, that when the righteous is at the end of affairs, that the people will rejoice.
Okay.
Not these people that lack character, lack capacity. And then we are smiling and we are dying going to our grave.
All right, then.
Majestically.
Thank you, Mr. Chris.
We are still waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chris. All right, thank you for your contribution. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Somi.
Good afternoon, welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm excellent, thank you.
Good afternoon to the guests.
Good afternoon.
My name is Salasi.
Selassie, welcome, go ahead.
Honest, please, I greet you. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Salasi. Now, for me, it's too early to rate this government of Tinubu. I say, if after 2 years, then I will assess Tinubu government. But one thing is that his party was in power. The man of integrity, General Muhammad Buhari, the man that they call Messiah, came. What did Buhari did about our refinery? Did Buhari improve our security? It rather escalate to bandits and killer headsmen. That is what we are facing. Now, you mention for what our guests don't mention about the insecurity in Abuja here. This is the city capital. People are being kidnapped in Abuja. Then we are talking of inflation. The tin of milk is how much?
Hello?
Many people can't see. Many people can't see. People are begging in order to feed. And most of these people, the thing is caused by insecurity. As I'm speaking to you, most of the people have been run from their homes. And we are watching rainy season. And they are watching any government must do the need for as he rightly say, some people are benefiting from this insecurity. That is why they don't want this thing to stop. Thank you.
All right, then, thank you so much. Okay, we will get back to the phone lines in a little bit. So let's take some messages here, and then we will proceed. Let's see. Okay, Somi. Okay, no, I'll have to come back to that later. Good afternoon, Somi and the guests. I can say that Mr. President has his own strategies in ruling the country. As such, we are hoping that he'll meet our demands and dreams. Hafsat with that message there. Thank you, Hafsat. Asutek, from Lugbe says, good afternoon, Somi. My advice to our president is that he should make up his mind not to go for a second term and make the difference by putting an end to insecurity, open all borders, reduce food prices, pay workers a living wage, fight corruption to the teeth, conduct credible elections, and hand over honorably so that his name will reign like President Yaradua. Asutex with that message. Thank you. Olade Abiodun says, good afternoon, Somi and the guests. Even though Mr. President is aware of what he was coming to meet, it's not an easy task to fix Nigeria overnight. We should be honest with ourselves. But I urge Mr. President to do everything humanly possible to fix Nigeria, because as it is now, Nigeria is not working under his leadership. Okay, let's see. This is quite a long one. Not quite sure if I can take it all. Good afternoon. I respect people's opinion on radio concerning all matters. However, your guest should not score President Tinubu points on security challenges. He has tried his best. It's not what Nigerians voted him to do. As we speak now, Nigerians were kidnapped in Abuja by gunmen. I heard that 40 people were killed in fresh attacks in Plateau. I think APC has failed woefully at the federal government level. How on earth can Nigerians be kidnapped and the kidnappers cannot be traced in 2024? These kidnappers demand for bikes, Hilux vans, foodstuff, and recharge cards. Let me add food and drinks to that list. And our security agencies cannot get to them and catch them. Honestly, I don't understand why things that are possible outside Nigeria seem impossible in Nigeria. Serious president should know that refining our crude oil is just the best way to go before ending the petrol subsidy. Now, since the removal of petrol subsidy, what has the president done differently apart from adding hardship to Nigerians? Our guests, he asked, should we continue to suffer for few persons to enjoy democracy? And have you respond to that, Mr. Simon? But let's quickly take this because we have been coming back to the matter of insecurity, and the last commentator actually brought up a story that we need to share. 40 indeed have been shot dead as bandits have sacked a community in Plateau. Zurak village in particular, in Basha district of Wase, local government area of Plateau State, is where they attacked. And it's said, as of the time of this report from the Daily Times, that 40 people have been killed. A sad one indeed, I would say, especially when we are looking at how the insecurity challenges have bedeviled us in this country for a long time. According to residents of the community, this incident occurred 5 p.m. on Monday when people were going about their normal activities. The residents said they could not immediately report the incident due to poor communication network in the area. We have a youth leader in the area, Safi Sambo, who was speaking. He confirmed this incident, that indeed the bandits arrived on motorcycles, 2 per bike, with sophisticated weapons and started shooting sporadically. More than 40 people killed, many others injured. As of the time of this report, residents had fled to neighboring communities for cover. And as of yesterday, according to this report, security personnel were yet to arrive at the community. Spokesperson for the State Police Command, DSP Alabo Alfred, had not responded to inquiry that was put forward to him by the News Daily as at the time of filing the report. All right, then. It is indeed a very, very, very tasking one, but we had someone who said, and you said as well, that it is too early, you said, to judge the president on what we're doing in the country, what has been done in the country. Early, however, as it might be, are there any gains that we could have made that would maybe sort of, how would I put it now, ease the situation? Because, yes, there were the 8 years that we had under President Muhammadu Buhari. I still insist that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was part of that administration. I don't know how we can separate him from that, right? And then 1 year in, at least we should have been able to have a situation at a more manageable level.
Yeah.
Or how easy will it then now be for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu if this 1 year things have been so aggravated and have worsened so much? Would that make it any easier for him? So when we say that it's a little too early to judge him, can we say that there are 1 or 2 gains that could have been made that would then make it easier for him to then tackle the challenges by the time his policies kick off?
Yes, I think what one expected of Tinubu is first to make the refining of crude oil something that can be done in Nigeria.
At least within the first 1 year.
At least the first 1 year. I expected that. And so when he came in earlier, there was this promise by the Minister of State in charge of petroleum. He said refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery will come upstream in December. We waited for December, it never came to be, and later they said it will be in another December, it will be in December. We asked the question, which of the December? Is it the December 2023 or December 2024? Now we have been told it will be in December. Now, there are no revenues for government to work upon.
Is that a factual statement? Because when such statements are made, and then you look at expenditure that is happening on this part of the same government. I mean, you have state governments expending quite huge amounts of money. I'm talking billions on things that are not necessarily. Okay, let's come back to that after
for
this.
you to see. You have a chance to bloom because you deserve it. Bridgerton Season 3 is bringing.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.